station of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Live from hot and steamy South Florida, Fox Sports Ohio brings you Cincinnati Reds baseball. This afternoon, the Reds take on the Marlins, as Cincinnati tries to salvage the final game of a 4-game set right near South Beach. Hi, hello, and welcome to Miami Marlins Park, everybody. Along with the crafty left-hander Chris Welch and South Beach Jim Day, I'm George Grand. Reds will try to come out of Miami with at least one win. They've lost 8 straight here against the Miami Marlins. And Chris, it's an interesting story today because the two guys who were traded for each other back in January go at each other today.
You know, George, it's always very compelling when that kind of matchup presents itself, like you've got Straley and Castillo. But, you know, I remember a lot of Reds fans back when this deal was made that they were howling, how can you ever get rid of Dan Straley? I mean, look what he did for the Reds last year, 20 quality starts. Well, I think you look back on this trade right now, and it's still going to be several years before it all plays itself out. But I would say that both teams got what they needed. Dan Straley, a very solid right-handed pitcher that's going to eat up a lot of innings. Luis Castillo, Austin Bryce, both young hard throwers on the rise.
For Luis Castillo, he'll make his 8th appearance of his career. Dan Straley makes his 108th appearance of his career.
Well, you know, Castillo is a very interesting guy because he can touch 100 miles an hour on just about any fastball that he throws. He's done that 11 times already this year. He's got more strikeouts, or at least that he had at the big league level, than he does at the minor leagues. He's got a plus changeup, a developing slider. I really think this is a top-of-the-rotation candidate. Down the road, he's far from a finished product, but he certainly has the tools with which to work. 24
hours ago, we didn't know whether Dan Straley would start today. Rumors continue to swirl that he might be traded heading into the trading deadline tomorrow. Chris, he's been a pro everywhere he's been.
Well, he has been, and of course he's celebrating the birth of a baby just a few weeks ago, so he's got a lot of different things going on. Although, since the All-Star break, you see that 0-2 record, that 7+ earned run average. He got jammed at the plate a couple of weeks ago, and I think that maybe that was bothering him a little bit. He hopes to be back on the beam. He tells me he feels just fine, so we'll see if he's got that high fastball and big slider working here this afternoon.
Well, he better be on the beam because Joey Votto sure is. Joey Votto, post All-Star, has been red hot. Another home run, a first pitch home run last night, Chris.
Well, he started post All-Star very slow, and then now he's come back and really done it. It just goes to show you, when you take as many walks as Joey Votto does, you know, your eye at the plate never really goes on vacation. It never goes into a slump. So you can always take a base on balls when you're a guy that understands the strike zone the way Joey Votto does. That's what makes him an elite player. Now that he's swinging the bat a little bit hotter, pitchers look out.
Well, the Reds defense hasn't taken many days off this year. Last night, another example of it. Great catch by Adam Duvall. Another great catch by Billy Hamilton. That's next with JD.
Billy Hamilton, a pitcher's best friend, including last night. Coming in, Billy being Billy. Beautiful catch. And as we've grown to know, Dan Straley, who goes to the hill for the Marlins. Last year in a Reds uniform, it seemed like every time that Billy Hamilton made a spectacular catch, it was Dan Straley on the hill. In fact, at the end of last year, we did a show, 2016 Moments, and we did a whole block on Billy Hamilton. And Dan Straley, including this catch here in Miami in July, was on the hill for so many of them. We got used to the salute from Straley to Hamilton. This was the catch of the year right here. Billy Hamilton went as far as I've ever seen anyone go to rob Carlos Beltran August against the Rangers. And this one even Dan Straley couldn't believe. And Billy's like, yep, what can I say? I'm fast. And then robbing a home run, Jackie Robinson Day in St. Louis. Pitcher's best friend. I talked to Dan Straley about how he misses Billy Hamilton in center field.
Yeah, he's a pretty unbelievable talent. Just, his speed that he brings to center field. I was watching it last night. I saw it all last year, but, really noticing how far away the corner outfielders get to play and just give Billy so much room out there in center field, and even how shallow he plays, like in a big ballpark like this, and just his ability to just add range. He's a pretty special talent out there in center field, and definitely had a lot of hugs and a lot of joy come my way watching him make those catches last year.
One of the most thoughtful pitchers we've ever come across, Dan Straley, as it's trade for trade, meaning Straley goes against the kid he was traded for. Luis Castillo goes to the hill for the Reds, and you better believe the Reds need a win. George and Chris are next with the call.
Florida, let's check your Menard starting lineup. Billy Hamilton will lead it off at 251. Scooter Jeanette bats second. Joey Votto off his homer last night hits third. Duvall, Suarez, Schebler, Peraza, Barnhart, and Castillo. As Dan Straley delivers the first pitch for the final game of this series, the Reds trying to get off the schneid. They've lost 8 straight here in Miami. Overall in their career, 108 and 86 against the Marlins franchise. And with this new ballpark, with the roof open, they're 3-0, but only 5-12 with the roof closed. And thankfully, Chris, the roof is closed today. Still about 95 outside and 98 humidity.
Yeah, we just saw a rain shower outside, George. It would would have caused local flooding in Cincinnati. I mean, it was coming down here hard and for quite a long time.
2 balls and 1 strike. The former Red and a veteran right-hander delivers to Hamilton, and now with 2 strikes, the third baseman Derek Dietrich will drop back. He was 4 steps in front of the bag at third, and Moore down at first was even with the bag, so they'll drop back into a more normal spot for Billy. 2 balls, 2 strikes for Hamilton. That's wide. Your home plate umpire Andy Fletcher this afternoon. Alan Porter's at first, the crew chief Joe West at second, and Hunter Wendelstadt is your third base umpire for the final of this 4-game set. Off day tomorrow for the Reds. They're in Pittsburgh, and 3 games against the Buccos. High pop up in foul territory. Dietrich will drift into fair territory and haul it in, and there's 1 away. Your forward defensive alignment for the Florida Marlins, one of the better teams, especially infield defense wise, in baseball. Osuna, Yelich, Suzuki, Ichiro, former Gold Glover in right. Stanton gets the afternoon off. Dietrich, Rojas, Gordon, and Moore across the infield. And our old friend A.J. Ellis is going to catch another old friend, Chris, Dan Straley. This is a veteran battery today.
Well, you're right. And although Straley really hasn't been around all that long as a starter, he is 34 and 27 lifetime, earned run average right around 4.1. He was the Reds' best pitcher last year when he won 14 games, lost 8, had 20 quality starts in his 31 starts overall. And what you really see out of Straley is, well, we remarked time and time again last year, he throws a lot of fastballs early in the count. He gets a lot of strikeouts with his slider once he gets ahead. Those are his numbers last year. And those numbers right there are the reason why there were some teams that came calling for Dan Straley. And it turned out to be a pretty good move for the Reds to pick him up off the waiver wire. They really had very little invested in him at all. And they gave him a shot in the bullpen. He pitched very well. They gave him a shot in the rotation, and he pitched even better.
And a similar story this year with Scott Feldman. He's provided a lot of leadership and a solid presence for the Reds on the disabled list now. The knee injury not as bad as originally thought. Reds hope to get him back soon. Swing and a miss by Jeanette. 2 quick outs for Dan Straley. Scooter, average coming in at 303 with 18 homers, 59 knocked in. And here comes Joey. Joey did it again last night. His first homer in the post All-Star stanza of this season. 27 on the year now. 71 runs batted in. The average back over 303, and he's been hot for the last week, Chris. Talk about red hot.
Well, I think Joey looked like he's moved up on the plate just a hair over the last week or so. But this matchup I like because it is a matchup of a high IQ hitter versus a high IQ pitcher. And you know they both developed a game plan here today. We'll see which one's able to execute.
Ball 1 to Joey. Votto last night hit another first pitch homer. We've been talking about it all year long, Chris. This is his 9th first pitch homer of the year. He's changed his game plan from time to time.
Well, he's been more aggressive at pitches in the zone this year. And he still doesn't swing at things that are outside the zone.
3-0. For Votto, the 5-time All-Star, in a funk right after the All-Star break, and he's been back on the beam since. Fouled off to the left side and out of play. 3-1. And by his own admission, he said, you know, I hadn't been to the All-Star game for a few years. I got out of my routine, meaning his off the field routine. He said, if I go back to the All-Star game again, I'm going to retool my routine so I don't get out of my zone. And if there's ever been a player that's worn a Reds uniform, Chris, that's in a zone, that's him. Joey rips this one down the right field line. It is foul in the corner.
Well, you know, what Joey believes in is the process. And you hear that word a lot. You hear Don Long, the hitting coach, use it. You hear Billy Hamilton use it after hanging around with Joey Votto in the batting cage a lot. I mean, he preaches this to everybody. Don't worry about the results. Worry about the process. Believe in what you're doing every day, and the results will take care of themselves. Hard thing to do when you go into a slump. But Votto really believes that, and that's one reason why, you know, I can't say he's slump-proof because we've seen him over extended periods of time not being Joey Votto. But, boy, he always has a tendency to be able to roar right back.
Full count, 3-2, 2 outs here in the first. You mentioned it, Chris. Great battle here with these two guys who know their craft. And Votto wins battle number 1. Base hit into center field. So the Reds have a 2-out base runner, and here comes Adam Duvall.
Yeah, you got to figure, though, if Straley feels like he gives a 2-out single up to Joey Votto, big deal. I mean, the alternative is probably walking him, because he's not going to strike him out, probably not with the stuff that Dan Straley has. So you put the ball in play, you hope that there's a fielder in front of the baseball. That time Votto gets the base hit.
So Joey's on first. Votto on the season, 3 stolen bases. Here's Adam Duvall. Talk about Billy Hamilton's great catch last night. Adam Duvall came up with another one. He's come up with a series of brilliant catches. 2 of them in this series and a whole bunch for the year. 6-game hitting streak now. During that hitting streak, 3 home runs. And one was a bullet last night off the end of the bat, fouled off. It's 1-1. Here's a look at Friday and Saturday and the double dip homers, Chris.
Well, a hanging slider by Vance Worley right there, kind of stayed on the inner third of the plate. All Duvall had to do was drop the bat head. Last night he gets one off a left-hander, a fastball running in almost the same location. Inner third, that one above the belt and into the seats.
23 round trippers for the guy who wears 23 on his back. 1 ball, 1 strike. Reds come in 41-63. The Marlins 49-53. Foul pass. Freddie Benavidez, the Reds first base coach, as usual, down in the box, and that sawed off that piece of lumber big time.
Yeah, Duvall was looking around for the rest of the bat. He looked down, he saw, well, all I've got is about a 4-inch handle left. Okay, what happened here? Wait a minute. Where'd the bat go?
Not even enough for a lamp with that one, huh?
Oh, there it is back there.
Ouch.
That bat head is on its way to the toothpick factory.
One ball, 2 strikes at 2 away. Votto short lead down at first.
And maybe they can turn it into some Australian chewing sticks for the arrival of Dusty Baker and the Nationals tomorrow down here in Miami.
One and 2. That's on the outside corner. 2 strikeouts in the first for Straley. Reds strand a runner. For the Reds, Luis Castillo takes the mound when we return. Park in South Florida. This park opened in 2012. Let's check Don Mattingly's starting lineup. Our Menard starting lineup with D. Gordon in the leadoff spot. Gordon number 2 in the league with 38 stolen bases, trailing Billy Hamilton by 6. A.J. Ellis bats second. Yelich, the speedy center fielder, in the 3 spot. The night off or day off for Stanton in right field, so that means that we'll get to see Ichiro. He's in right field, hitting in the 7th spot. Miguel Rojas, the shortstop, and Straley bats in the number 9 position. And on the mound for the Reds, the electric arm young right-hander Luis Castillo.
Now, this might be the game that we see Luis Castillo put together everything that his arm and stuff enables him to do. We just throw a lot of zeros on the board and collect a lot of strikeouts. I mean, he routinely throws the ball in the upper 90s. He's got a very good changeup. That's a plus pitch, a developing slider, and got great mound presence. I mean, last year at this time, he was working for the Miami Marlins. In fact, at the end of the year, he was the Marlins minor league pitcher of the year. He was the Florida State League pitcher of the year. But Florida State League, by the way, is A-ball. So you can see how far he has come in just one season.
And during the offseason, when the rumors were that the Marlins were looking for veteran starting pitching, they talked to a number of teams, and the winter meetings, it looked like a deal was made. Everybody wanted Castillo, and the Marlins were reluctant to give him up. That's looping down the left field line, foul and out of play. And then after the winter meetings broke up and no deal was made, it wound up that Castillo was in a deal to the Reds. And if you talk to scouts and people in the Marlins organization, he was the one guy that the scouts and the development people, Chris, did not want to give up. That's a liner, but right to Votto, one away.
I'm surprised that they did, George. I mean, the more I see this guy pitch, the more I scratch my head and ask who the heck is running the Marlins, because they didn't trade Castillo once to the Reds. They traded him twice. They had him in a deal that went to the San Diego Padres for Colin Ray that eventually was undone because the Padres were fibbing about the medical history of that pitcher when he came over and blew his elbow out in the first start. So that trade got undone, and then they went ahead and unloaded him in a trade for Dan Straley. I'm very happy for the Reds. Let me put it that way.
There's AJ Ellis at 232, a couple of homers, 5 knocked in. And there's been a lot of talk about Straley being dealt this week, as the Marlins have already traded their closer. In fact, if you looked on the stat sheet on the Marlins, there's not a save on the Marlins roster going into today's game. All their saves have either been traded, or there's a dribbler down to Votto. Castillo overtaps the bag, either on the disabled list or traded. I'll check your 4th defensive alignment for the Reds. Cincinnati comes in 3rd in the league defensively. In the outfield, it'll be Duvall, Hamilton, and Schebler. Tied for the league lead in assists is that group. Suarez, Peraza, Scooter Gennett, Votto across the infield, and Tucker Barnhart will catch Castillo. That's your 4 defensive alignment. 2 quick outs, and here's Yelich in at 287, 12 homers on the season for the speedy center fielder. 55 knocked in all told. There's that changeup you talked about, Chris.
Well, he's got a plus changeup, and I think that ought to be a lesson for everybody in the Reds minor leagues that may be watching this game either live or on tape at some point. That can be the single biggest game changer for a pitcher, is to have control of an off-speed pitch like a changeup.
That's the way to start it. Zip, zip, zip. 1, 2, 3 for number 58. Suarez due up when we return. From South Florida, Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, being brought to you by Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your tri-state Chevy dealer, and by Skyline Chili. Hey, feeling good? It's Skyline time. There you were. We got you, Chris. I see you back with Beth in the third row there.
I actually just got blown out of the boat. The wind was a little bit stiffer than I thought. That boat was going about 50 miles per hour, and those that were on it, we had some of our crew that actually were on that boat, George, and they said it was surprisingly calm, except for the bugs they had to clean out of their teeth at the end of the ride.
You name it, there's recreative activity to take place here in South Florida. Here's Eugenio Suarez, 256 for Suarez on the season. 51 runs batted in for the Reds' third baseman. Straley gave up a hit to Votto in the first, working here in the second. We did accomplish one of the things we needed to accomplish coming to South Florida, Chris. We got JD back at the ballpark 4 straight days. Look out.
Well, today was the big test for that after the day off. The dark day yesterday, the game, of course, yesterday on Fox National.
Yeah, I picked up the paper this morning. I was having breakfast. Where is it? Here it is. Of course, it was the big soccer match, 66,000 in the El Clasico, Real Madrid and Barcelona. Barcelona won it 3-2. I mean, everybody was crazy around town, and I picked it up. I'm reading the story as Suarez goes down to first, and like number 1 is the game story, and then on page 7C it says celebrities turn out for the game. Schebler, big swing, at a homer the night before last. This one almost hits the roof. Ichiro, former Gold Glover, will haul it in, and there's one away. It said Hard Rock Stadium was definitely the place to be in Miami on Saturday night. Among the 66,000 plus were familiar faces, including Serena Williams, NBA stars Carmelo Anthony, Draymond Green, DeMarcus Cousins, rapper Drake, hip-hop artist French Montana, and South Beach Jim Day. That's in the paper. That's in the Miami Herald.
Unbelievable.
They caught him over there.
He's got a pretty good press agent whose name is George Grant.
It's been crazy around town with all the soccer people, hasn't it?
You know, you would never know that that particular soccer match was an exhibition.
Yep.
It was only the second time those two teams have ever played outside of Spain. But boy, oh boy, very much of an international community here and a big soccer community in Miami. They were all ready for that big match. They were talking about it all week long.
Boy, Schebler just missed that one, didn't he? His swing's gotten a little better the last couple of days. That's out number 1. And here's Peraza, who's had a bounce back series. He was in a big funk coming to Miami, but he's got 3 hits in the last couple of nights. The average climbing back up on the road near 300. Overall, 250, 4 homers, 26 knocked in. Installed at short, of course, with Zach Cozart on the 10-day disabled list. This one blooped into left. That's a base hit by Peraza. It's almost like, you know, we talk about Ichiro having a magic wand in his hand with the bat, and Peraza kind of guides the ball that same way too, doesn't he?
Well, you really want a hitter to hit the ball hard. Peraza hasn't gotten to that point yet, but you know, watching Peraza play is very similar. You know, he's 23 years old, so it's very similar to having a young pitcher come up out of AAA and play. And you're going to get your lumps. You're going to have your bright spots. You're going to get some more lumps. And it's how he develops as a player, learning to play basically on an everyday basis, especially now with Zach Cozart out, is something that I think is very valuable for Peraza and the Reds.
There's Tucker Barnhart at 257, 3 homers, 17 knocked in. Jim Day talked about the relationship that Straley had with Billy Hamilton, all the great catches he made behind him. And these two had a tremendous relationship. Straley and Tucker Barnhart. They've each, when the Marlins were in town last week and when the Reds were in town this week, visited with each other a couple of times. Talked about life, talked about baseball. Straley entering with a new family member this week, and of course Tucker will have his first child later on this year too.
You know, Straley's got that high fastball that he throws, and it doesn't really register that high on the radar gun. It's only 91, but it has what the analysts will say, great backspin. It doesn't sink very much. So your eyeballs tell you that it's going to sink a little bit more than it actually does. And that's why he's effective up in the zone. 2 times in a row now, he's throwing one right by Barnhart.
That's wide. You know, last year, JD, time and time again, you'd watch a game. When Straley wasn't pitching, he was sitting next to one of the young pitchers that were coming up and going down from the minor leagues. He was a mentor to a lot of these young pitchers that the Reds have, huh?
He really was. And talking to him the other day, he understands the trade that the Reds made, but he says one thing that I missed out on is he thinks he could help these young pitchers that have been pitching for the Reds this year.
Looped into center. That's a base hit. Rounding third. Coming to the plate will be Suarez. He'll score. Going to third will be Peraza. So battle number 1 between these two goes to Barnhart. A run scoring base hit to center. The Reds have a 1-0 lead.
It's funny how even high IQ pitchers can have a tendency to outthink themselves a little bit. He throws 2 fastballs by Barnhart to get 0-2, and then eventually gets beat on a breaking ball. That was a good pitch, a pitcher's pitch, no doubt. But I mean, you speed the bat up a little bit, and Barnhart's able to drop one in front of the center fielder.
You know, last year, JD, Bronson Arroyo wasn't with the club, and I think Straley, nobody expected him to be a mentor as a young veteran. Yeah, he's a veteran, but a young veteran. But he really took to that role and helped a lot of these young pitchers.
Yeah, and it's the one thing he said he was looking forward to, obviously being in the starting rotation with the Reds, but he really thought that he could be that mentor guy. And in fact, he talked about the other night watching Robert Stevenson walk 7 guys, and he thinks mentally he could have helped him, and literally wanted to go to the other dugout and start talking to him. He likes him, he calls him a friend, and doesn't want to see someone struggle like that. But he's in an opposite dugout now, so that's one thing the Reds are missing out on. But when you get a guy like the guy in the box right now, it's a trade the Reds had to make.
There's Castillo showing bunt, fouls the first one off. First and third, in tight at third is Dietrich. Charging at first is Moore.
I'll tell you one thing, Straley is one of the best interviews since Ray Knight, because all you have to do is say, how you doing, Dan? And you got the next 15 minutes covered.
You're right. Got it down. Here comes the runner to the plate. He will be safe. Boy, he read that. Peraza did perfectly. He followed the third baseman in. Straley slow to get in, tried to shovel it to the catcher Ellis, couldn't do it. Ellis couldn't go out and get it, and the Reds get a run out of it.
Well, you got to make a decision early on what you're going to do with this. Straley is very slow getting off the mound. I mean, he hesitates and hesitates again before he finally comes in. Read perfectly by Peraza, who's got plus speed. So a safety squeeze that is really good. Nice going, young man.
The youngster gets the run batted in, still looking for his. He got his first hit already, and now he gets a run batted in here, and the Reds lead it 2-0.
Yeah, we don't care about base hits. We care about ribeyes.
Amen. 2-0 Reds. That'll put runners at first and second, and just to be safe, here comes Don Mattingly out to take a look at Straley, who was kind of gimping going back towards the mound after he left the home plate area. Juan Nieves, the pitching coach, will come on out along with Mattingly and the training crew.
Well, Mattingly is concerned. I'm sure Juan Nieves, the pitching coach, is concerned, and I imagine so is the Marlins front office, because Straley is probably on the block to be traded, and a lot of teams want to see how he's going to do today.
Like he's stretching the left leg, whether it's the knee or the hamstring or the groin area. That's the leg that he skidded on as he dove at home plate.
I mean, what kind of exercises do you do as a pitcher that is going to injure your leg? I mean, don't guys run and play ball anymore? I mean, run the bases a little bit, run sprints. I don't see hardly anybody running sprints. I mean, how can you get hurt covering a bunt in front of the home plate.
In your day and age, you ran every day.
Yeah, you ran everywhere. You ran on and off the field, number one. That's unique nowadays.
So the Reds get a run out of it, lead it 2-0. Back to the top of the order, Billy Hamilton, who popped out first time up. First and second, still one out here in the second. Two of the better leadoff hitters with speed in all of baseball in this game, D. Gordon and Billy Hamilton. Hamilton's won the battle so far in this season series between these two teams. I mean, Gordon has won the battle with getting on base more often, getting more hits, but there's a friendly competition between the two whenever they do meet each other. Gordon had to learn the hard way coming up and learning to keep the ball on the ground. Billy's still trying to learn that. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, what Billy does better than Gordon right now is control the strike zone. Gordon is a free swinger up there. He's a very difficult guy to walk. That's the one part of the game I think that Billy Hamilton can be better at in a hurry, and that's really just by watching and hanging around with Joey Votto. Learn a little bit about strike zone management. It's going to help him get on base a lot.
2-1. Off the end of the bat, he may beat this out, and he will. It doesn't take, and this is the second infield hit he's had to short against the Marlins in the last 2 weeks. All he has to do is get the ball on the grass, and he's got a chance to beat it out.
Well, he chases the pitch out of the zone right here, but his speed is enough to make it up. Rojas playing fairly deep, can't get to it in time to get Billy Hamilton. So the Reds are getting about every break they can possibly get in this inning. A bloop base hit by Tucker Barnhart on a 2-strike pitch. A 2-strike little single in the left field by Peraza. A misplayed bunt in front of home plate by the pitcher. And now a little infield hit.
They'll take it.
Talk about getting nickel to dime to death. I think Straley, he thought his leg was hurting him the most until he looks up and sees he's got a potential for real disaster here in this inning. A couple of tough left-handers coming up.
Bases loaded, 2 runs in. Scooter, who Straley struck out in the first inning, at the plate, middle of the infield, double play depth. But yeah, I mean, it's a great example for Billy. You look at the numbers. I mean, numbers in some cases can be manipulated to lie a little bit. I mean, the numbers are clear. When Billy Hamilton hits the ball on the ground, he's over a 300 hitter. When he hits a ball in the air, he's under a 200 hitter. Nubbed foul. 1-2.
Well, the one bit of statistical good news for the Reds here is that Straley is a fly ball pitcher. He's not a ground ball pitcher at all. He does have 7 ground ball double plays behind him. But if you can protect against a strikeout, chances are you're going to get the ball in the air and at least get 1 more run in.
Missing up and away, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Straight start for Scooter at second base. Trying to drive in a run here. That's popped down the third base line, but out of play. Count stays 2-2. Already new career highs in home runs and runs batted in. Sitting on 18 and 59 for those numbers. And Ellis will go out and talk to Straley with this 2-2 pitch coming up. National League Central standings. Chicago and Milwaukee still keep going at each other. Milwaukee won game 1 of the series. Cubs won game 2 yesterday. Identical 2-1 scores the last couple of games. So Milwaukee starts today, game and a half back. Cardinals 4.5 back. Pittsburgh 5.5. Reds go to play the Buccos starting on Tuesday in Pittsburgh. Swing and a miss, and he gets him for the second time. Or did he get a piece of it? No, he didn't. Swing and a miss, and that's 2 straight strikeouts of Jeanette by Straley, and here comes Votto.
Well, Straley almost always goes to his breaking pitch, and that's his favorite one, the slider there for a strikeout. Very effective against right-handers, not always so much against lefties. And Scooter got a little case of the goo, not being able to get that runner in from third with less than 2.
Now there are 2 outs, and here's Joey. He singled in the first. 8th batter of the inning to come to the plate for the Reds. Barnhart off third. Castillo off second, and Hamilton off first. That's a pop up to the left side. Is there going to be room? There is. Dropped. It's dropped by the shortstop Rojas. It looked like he thought Dietrich was going to make the play. Dietrich almost tumbled over. Rojas will get charged with the error, and Votto gets another pitch.
Boy, oh boy, Dan Straley's got to be thinking, are you kidding me? Of all the batters in the batter's box, you're going to drop a pop-up like that with Joey Votto in the line? I got a pitch of this guy. I mean, for every pop-up Votto hits like that, he hits about 50 line drives. That's what Straley's thinking right now.
Strike 1 to Joey with the bases loaded. 0-2.
Trying to hit that one in the South Beach.
In his career, Votto now 3 for 3 against Straley. Trying to keep it perfect in this at bat. Here's the 0-2. In the dirt. Good block by Ellis. Well, as of now, yes, now they finally put up an error on the play. They had not given an error on the play, but they'll give it to the shortstop. So Joey trying to balloon the Reds' lead, 2-0 Cincinnati. Hit hard down to second. Gordon will smother it and get the out. The Reds will strand 3. They've stranded 4 so far, but they get 2 off Straley and lead it 2-0. Serious injuries. Longest home win streaks between these two teams. The Reds won 11 straight from 1998 through 2000, and then the Reds won 9 straight back in 2006, 7, 8, and 9. And the Marlins right now have won 8 straight from 2015 through the present at home. The Marlins 5 straight from 95 and 96. It's not the longest win streak the Marlins have ever had. They've won 14 in a row at home at one point against the Philadelphia Phillies. That was in the old ballpark, but in this ballpark, it's the longest win streak they've had, and their former minor league farmhand is trying to do his best to end that streak for the Reds. Marcell Ozuna, Derek Dietrich, and Moore due up 4, 5, and 6. Now, Chris, you talk about Jose Peraza and other players growing up little by little. Take some time and put Ozuna on that list too. I mean, he struggled at times in the minor leagues. There were some in the organization. There were inquiries that wanted to deal him, but they hung with him, and he's paying dividends now. Look at these numbers: 312, 23 homers. He's got 24 runs batted in July. That's third in Major League Baseball, and 78 for the season. That's an all-star first half.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, he's a young man with tremendous talent. He can play center field. He's playing left field now with Yelich out in center. But the one thing that has, I guess, bothered a lot of people about Ozuna is the variation in effort level that you get from him. You know, sometimes he's playing full out. Other times he gives you the impression that he's a little bit more on cruise control. And I think maybe that comes with maturity. You get to the big leagues as a young man, you think, hey, this is great. Maybe I don't have to play as hard as I have to all the time to get here once I'm here.
One away and a ground out to third.
He certainly has bat speed.
Here's Derek Dietrich. 8 runs batted in over the last 4 games. Had that 5 RBI game on Wednesday at Texas, and then has continued his assault on the Reds. Good news for the Reds today: JT Realmuto isn't in the lineup.
Neither is Giancarlo Stanton.
No.
I mean, they're giving a couple of those guys the days off. Like the Reds manager, Brian Price, Don Mattingly rides his everyday players hard. And I think the case with Mattingly is that he's forced to do so because he really was expected to win with this ball club this year. They've been derailed by injuries and underperformance. They went through a streak in May that really derailed them. And with the Nationals coming in starting tomorrow, I think that he wanted to see his team a little bit better, full force and rested. And that's why they're getting some days off here today, day game after night game.
It's a division game for him too. Stanton will be back in the lineup with the Marlins coming to town, and
Miami 12.5 back of the Nationals as we start play today.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Dietrich, a 382 career hitter against Cincinnati. Whether it's lefties or righties, he deals against the Reds. Talking to Mattingly before the game today, he said, you know, I mean, in all due respect, these are 2 teams that are rebuilding, trying to put things together. Facing the Reds is one thing. You got to worry about Joey Votto, and you got to worry about the left fielder. It's a soft liner. Votto's got it. He said, Washington comes to town tomorrow. You can't pitch around anybody. So they got 6 or 7 Joey Vottos in that lineup. It's a different matchup, isn't it?
Well, entirely different. I think the Reds found that out right after the All-Star break.
Wow.
When they hosted the Nationals. And I mean, it looked like the varsity versus the junior varsity in that series, the way the Nationals came out and just pounded just about every one of the Reds pitchers that were out there.
Start of play today. Washington 12.5 games ahead of Miami, who's in second place. Atlanta 13.5 back. Mets 13.5 back, and Philadelphia 24 back.
And of course, the Nationals are expected, or at least they have been expected here prior to the trade deadline, is to add somebody to that bullpen to give them a little bit more of a balance in that late inning issue. I mean, you know, when you're rolling over everybody during the regular season the way the Nationals have, sometimes it's easy to overlook what you need in a short series against a team that is equal to your talent level. And I think that's what they're trying to fix there in Washington.
Tyler Moore at 241, 6 homers, 23 knocked in. There basically are 3 trading components in this non-waiver trading deadline at July 31st. They're the teams that are rebuilding, unloading. They're the teams that, you know, have enough to get to the postseason but want that closer or that extra bullpen guy or the starter to win in the postseason. And there are those that maybe are chasing fool's gold, trying to get a wild card spot. And that's what's unfolding in these final 2 days before this trading deadline. You have to have a player on your roster by the 1st of September for them to be eligible for the postseason. So here's a fly ball to right. It'll stay in the park. Schebler there. So while this is a trading deadline, there still may be some deals in the month of August. 6 up, 6 down for Castillo. Here comes Duvall.
Baseball break brought to you by T-Mobile. And yes, the trading deadline can bring a lot of activity, even for one player. Jaime Garcia was traded from Atlanta to the Twins on Friday, pitched and won, defeated Oakland, and then today traded to the Yankees from Minnesota. So hopefully he was just in a hotel room and hadn't got an apartment already in Minneapolis.
Here's Adam Duvall, struck out first time up to lead it off, top of 3.
Well, you know, George, it kind of brings up another subject of a trade that the Marlins made the other night. In fact, after he pitched in the ball game against the Reds, they traded Ramos, their closer, to the New York Mets. Now the Mets aren't in the thick of anything right now, but it was kind of an interesting trade. Would that be, do you think, a situation where the Mets would flip him to somebody else? Or are they looking to keep Ramos long term?
Rojas gloves it, one away, and that's part of the configuration that you talk about in the end of July as you head to August. I mean, if you got a closer sitting there and somebody goes down in August, then you need a bullpen arm. I mean, look, we just left New York. I mean, right now the Yankees, what they put together in their bullpen, it's similar to what they had in 96, 97, 98. You know, when you had Wetland with Rivera setting them up. I mean, that bullpen, if they're all on beam, is the best bullpen in baseball right now. So Brian Cashman struck early. Somebody else may be looking in the month of August to bolster a bullpen going into the postseason.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have a good reliever, a closer, especially the caliber of Ramos, how are you expecting him to get through waivers in the month of August? I mean, that would be not a good idea, would it be, to put him out on an unrevocable waiver deal and have somebody claim him?
That's why Cashman did what he did early. I think he did the right thing. Brian Cashman made the move in July. Somebody that's going to go fishing, if you need somebody in August, it's a lot more difficult. And certainly the Reds brain trust, Dick Williams and everyone, they're back home in Cincinnati and going over possibilities for deals in these final 2 days. Here in Miami, Mike Hill and his crew went to their spring training facility north of Miami, and they're all huddled there. They've made a couple of deals this week. Phelps traded, Ramos traded, and from what you gather walking around this facility, Chris, you expect them to make a deal or two more in the next 24 hours or 30 hours. There's Schebler, fly ball to right, sky high fly ball that he just missed, and he was retired in the second. 2 runs, 5 hits for the Reds. The big hits, run scoring single by Barnhart, and bunt RBI by Castillo. Another high fly ball, this into short right field. Who's going to take charge? Ichiro will. So Straley, after a hard luck second, has an easy third. Still 2-0 Reds. At Great American Ballpark, presented by Mentos. Catch the action for as low as $12. For tickets, visit Reds.com. 6 up, 6 down for the 24-year-old right-hander from the Dominican Republic, Luis Castillo. He faces the bottom of the order. The youngster against one of the best veterans to ever play the game, Ichiro, then Rojas, then Straley. Ichiro now 3,060 hits, tied with Craig Biggio for number 22 on the all-time list, and a couple of games behind Willie McCovey for the 42nd spot in games played. 2,586 is what Ichiro has. And you figure, Chris, his day at Cooperstown is going to come on this day in Cooperstown. Willie Mack is up there, and the familiar names as a dribbler but foul. Jeff Bagwell being inducted in Cooperstown. Tim Raines, Pudge Rodriguez, who of course played here. John Schuerholz, Bud Selig. Very festive weekend and a beautiful day in the northern part of the state of New York.
Well, Ichiro will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He ought to be a unanimous Hall of Famer, but there aren't any of those. Evidently, the voting process doesn't feel that anybody should get in with 100% of the vote. But I was always curious watching Ichiro play, George. Why isn't his style of hitting, where he kind of runs out of the box, a little bit more acceptable for very fast players? I mean, when Ichiro came over here to the States originally and was the Rookie of the Year and the MVP in the same season, I mean, he was running out of the box the same way he is now, except he would go down the line with record speed. And I'm wondering why, don't guys like, Dee Gordon or Billy Hamilton or even, any other left-handers that get out of the box quickly adopt that kind of run and slash style if it works so well for Ichiro.
Funny thing, if you watch batting practice, Dee Gordon does do it, and he kind of jokes with Ichiro when he hits in the same group with him, and he'll look like Ichiro, and he makes it work, but it's not that easy. That tells you another reason why Ichiro's so good. The hand-eye coordination, the movement. I mean, you talk about, every hitting coach will tell you have to keep your head still. How does he keep his head still and still get the bat on the ball that way? He's remarkable.
Good question.
1-ball delivery to Rojas. I mean, to have the career he had in Japan and duplicate that and take it even further here in the United States, what a special athlete. 2-0. Rojas off the disabled list, and he's been on base every game since coming off the DL. This Marlins team has 8 on the disabled list now, and they've had a series of injuries that certainly have somewhat precipitated all the trading talk that's happened. Martin Prado, Chris, I guess you believe if he was still around, he'd be trade eligible right now.
I think there'd be a few teams who would be standing in line for Prado.
As a bouncer over the mound, bobbled by Peraza, and on base will be Rojas.
Peraza has to go a long way for this ball. It's got some overspin, went right over the head of the pitcher. I think if he's able to field it and come up clean, he'll be able to throw the runner out. Just didn't stay down on it. We've seen Peraza have a difficult time defensively going to his left. Whether he's playing second base, going to his left is sometimes a challenge, and going to his left is shortstop. But again, you know, 23 years old, still learning the game.
Scored an infield hit, so Rojas is on, and Straley's at the plate. You know, Martin Prado probably would have been someone a team would be interested in. Another guy is Edinson Volquez. Had a no-hitter earlier this year. If he's healthy, somebody might come calling for him too. Straley showing bunt. Suarez in tight from third. They get the bunt down. It's a good one. It's a successful sacrifice by Straley. A runner goes to second. 2-out runner in scoring position, and here comes D. Gordon. Hey, JD, you know, a lot of great moments last year. Maybe one of the greatest was when Straley got his first hit. Was that something?
Well, he started his major league career 0 for 48, and man, he was pressing. They were even talking about the all-time record. And then he finally got that first hit, and his reaction going down the first base line and the reaction from the dugout was certainly one I'll never forget. It's as happy as I've ever seen a player on a field.
You would have thought it was a walk-off win in the playoffs the way they reacted on the bench. That was pretty neat. Remember this, Chris? And he said, I was worried they're going to throw me out at first. I want the ball, he's saying. Give me the ball.
Well, it took the Reds wearing shamrocks that day for him to get the hit, right?
Yep.
Supposedly one of the Marlins announcers talked today about he popped his head into the manager's office and told Don Mattingly, hey, I got my only hit this year when he hit me 8th.
Line drive by Gordon, snared by Duvall. The Marlins get their first hit, strand to runner. Here we go to the top of 4th. Peraza will lead it off. Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, being brought to you by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together, and by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. You want to go further to see baseball? Go to Cooperstown. There it is, downtown Cooperstown. That's Main Street. JB, Johnny Bench there to honor a great one, Pudge Rodriguez. Frank Robinson in town. And there's John Schuerholz, of course, elected this year, being inducted this weekend as well. That's Bud Selig. He, of course, being inducted as well this weekend. Just Chris, it's a special place because everybody smiles at Cooperstown. No matter who you root for, whatever team you follow, you walk up and down Main Street, you go to Chestnut Street, you go to the Clark Sports Complex, and everybody's having a good time. And
Did we just see Bud Selig ride in the back of a pickup truck?
Probably
I
his
never
own.
thought I'd see it.
Well, for a guy that had used car lots all over Milwaukee, it's probably his. No balls, 2 strikes to Peraza.
Looked like they got a nice day, George. You've been up there for so many years, 30 years, I think is what you said. And you know, sometimes it's unbearably hot. Other days you had some rain. I guess when they're blessed with a day like today, it's got to be a really special day.
0-2 to Peraza. That got him, and it hit him, or I guess not. It hit the glove of Ellis. I thought it hit him. So it's 1 ball, 2 strikes. Jeff Bagwell, Chris, what are your thoughts on Bags as you remember his career and playing against the Reds on an everyday basis?
Well, I think Scott Sullivan would probably be better to judge on that. If he faced Scott Sullivan every day of the week, he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. In fact, he wouldn't have spent 2 years in the big leagues. But the guy killed the Reds. I remember him moving from third base to first base because they wanted to keep his bat in the lineup. They didn't want to have him worry about his defense. And what a really great player for a long, long time.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Peraza. He was 0 for 22 against Scott Sullivan. Line drive, center field, sinking, and it drops in front of Yelich. So the Peraza magic wand has produced 2 base hits, a bloop into left and this bloop into center.
Yeah, I still am amazed that defenses don't shorten up a little bit with Peraza up at the plate. He's able to get a second hit of the day, though, so good for Jose. You know, the other thing about Jeff Bagwell, George, I mean, I don't know if he was ever on any particular list of players that were, you know, known to have taken PEDs, but there certainly were rumors and whispers and talk about all over the place. I mean, the changes that his body went through when he was with the Houston Astros certainly led you to be somewhat curious about his offseason regimen. You don't hear very much about that, but I particularly think, personal opinion only, that if Bagwell is in there, then they ought to start opening up the doors to some other guys that ought to be in there as well.
That's a little high to Barnhart, who singled in the Reds' first run in the second. I mean, the Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens both totals keep going up in recent years. We'll see how that unfolds. I remember, you know, you talk about Bagwell and the Reds. I remember we were in a Saturday going to a Sunday, and they had a church service at the ballpark on Sunday, and the Reds had won 6 in a row against the Houston Astros. In addition to that, Bagwell was 0 for 8 going into the final game of the series, and while the church service was taking place in the infield, Bagwell came on. We got there early. Bagwell brought all the Astro bats out and put them by the home plate area, the bags of bats. He says, maybe we can get our bats blessed and we can get some hits. But you know, you remember walking into that clubhouse, you had Biggio, Bagwell, Ausmus. Talk about this day and age of no leadership on teams. Those 3 guys ran that clubhouse, showed people and told people how to play the game the right way. 3 leaders in Houston, and Biggio, of course, is in Cooperstown right now. Ausmus is managing for the Detroit Tigers, but Biggio's as happy as Bagwell is. You know, the other thing I remember when Aaron Boone got hit on the hand and was on the disabled list, and Bagwell was on the DL twice with a broken bone in his hand after everybody pitched him inside. He had a box full of pads, hand pads. And when the Reds came to town, he walked over to the Reds clubhouse with the box and said to to Barry Larkin. He says, give this to Aaron Boone because I don't want him to get hurt. I want him to keep playing. Let him try to use one of these. Boone never was comfortable with it. Never did, but I mean, that's the kind of guy he was. He didn't want to see Larkin or Boone out of the lineup on a regular basis for the game. Now we talk about Perry Hill, who's a great infield instructor. Another great infield instructor was Matt Galante. And when the Red Sox traded Jeff Bagwell for Larry Anderson to Houston, Straley to the stretch. Here's the 2-2, and they'll throw over to first. When he went to spring training that year, Ken Caminiti was the third baseman, so there's no way he's going to beat Caminiti out. Matt Galante every day would, when the day was over, would spend an hour hitting fungos and ground balls to Bagwell down at first. He made him a pretty good first baseman, and I hope Matt Galante's there because he helped Biggio make the transition from catcher to second. He helped Bagwell do the same thing, and they're both in the Hall of Fame. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, you know the answer to this question, George. Can players who are being inducted invite guests to the Hall of Fame?
Sure.
How many tickets do they get through the ceremony?
Tickets at the ceremony, you're almost unlimited in terms of former teammates and whatnot. It's a big field, and they can put as many seats as they want in there. To the to the big events, the dinners and so on and so forth, they are limited and only a smaller amount. But all the you imagine with Bud Selig and John Sherrills going in, I mean, they're coming out of the woodwork up there. Swing by Barnhart, popped up in the infield. Moore calling it. Of course, Biggio and Bagwell had long over 20-game hitting streaks for the Astros in their career, and the Reds have had one going on. Jose Siri, did he get another hit last night, JD?
He not only got a hit last night, he's already got a hit today. Top of the third, single to left. He indeed ties the all-time Midwest League record. 35-game hitting streak. Tony Toops back in 1977. So he just keeps on keeping on.
Congratulations to Siri, 35 straight. That's a 40-year record. And another good at bat by Castillo. Got the bunt down right off the bat, Chris. That's the way you like to see it.
Well, he has been really on both ends of the spectrum as far as at the plate. When he first came up, he didn't look like he'd ever been in the batter's box before, but now he's driven in a run in a 2-0 ball game. So he's feeling a little more comfortable. Getting it down early is very important.
2 successful bunts and another runner in scoring position for the Reds. Here's Billy Hamilton, popped out and reached on a dribbler to short that he beat out for a base hit. One ball to the Reds center fielder. Everybody straight up in the infield except Dietrich, who's 3 steps in front of the bag at third with the speedy Hamilton at the plate. That's a strike, says Andy Fletcher. 1-1. And the count evens, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Around Major League Baseball is the trading deadline. We point towards it. Tomorrow's the 31st of July. Sonny Gray scratched from his start with Oakland, and there was rumors last night here and even this morning that Straley might be scratched, with some interest in him as a possible trade participant. This one blooped towards left. It'll be caught by Rojas, and the Reds will strand a runner. They've stranded 5, scored 2, and lead it 2-0.
Rehabbing with Dayton last night. 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, no walks, struck out 6 through 46 pitches, 33 of which were strikes. Got the velocity up to 95 miles per hour, and Disco says he's right in the middle of the process.
I just want to build my tolerance up and, do the up downs, getting back on the bench, getting up, warming up. I want to make sure I have at least, 6 up downs in the game. And up in the 100 pitch range. So once I do that, I'll be ready to go.
He was so pitch efficient last night that after he came out of the game, he threw an additional 15 pitches in the bullpen, and he is on that every 5-day cycle now. He'll pitch one more time for Dayton, then reevaluate, and most likely move up the ladder and pitch in AA and AAA. And once he started 2 starts ago at the Arizona Rookie League level, it started that 30-day rehab clock. The Reds don't think he's going to need the full 30 days, but stay tuned.
And oh, by the way, right, JD, a former Florida Marlin pitcher again. He was in the Matt Latos deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
One Florida Marlin operative when we got to town said the 2 deals as a minor league contributor to the organization that he regretted more than any were DeSclafani and Castillo. And we'll see if they can both get in the rotation for next year, and that's a pretty good start if you got Homer Bailey healthy and you got Brandon Finnegan healthy. Now the rotation looks a lot different than it looks right now.
Well, a month or so from now, George, you might be thinking to yourself, where would the Reds rotation be without the Florida Marlins? But as DeSclafani, I mean, if he continues on that pace, I love the fact that he did not walk a batter and that he struck out 6 and that he felt good afterwards. Say 3 weeks from now, say when he's back or around that time, that eliminates one more starting job. So if you are one of the 3 that might be on the bubble, Luis Castillo is not one of those, I wouldn't think. But, Robert Stevenson, Sal Romano, Tim Adelman, it's a short-term audition. You better pick it up a little bit, though. One of those 3 will be out of the rotation when DeSclafani comes back.
I mean, look at the 3 starters for the Reds in this series. 6 walks, 7 walks, 4 walks. Can't do that and win up here. It's all part. And I mean, to be honest, if the year started and you had Homer Bailey, Anthony DeSclafani, Brandon Finnegan, and Scott Feldman, and you mixed and matched with some young pitchers, you got a chance for a pretty good rotation. But when you take all of them out of the mix at one point in time, in essence, what Mac Jenkins and Brian Price and Teddy Power are doing up here is developing. It's like you're a AA staff. You're developing AA and AAA pitchers at the major league level. This guy has answered the call so far and shown he belongs. Down to second. Scooter has it. Yelich retired, 2 away. And that'll bring Osuna up. MLB.TV Premium back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus get a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Now they show the attendance here in anywhere from 16 to 19,000 in each game of this series. All-Star game here this year, Chris, so season ticket numbers were up because of that. But in reality, the worst drawing team in the league, which is only averaging around 19-20,000 a game, it figures that season tickets will drop again precipitously next year because there's no All-Star game to lure season ticket holders. Teams for sale. Do you think someone can turn it around down here?
I don't know whether they can or not. I know that they're going to have to pony up a lot of money to buy this franchise.
Rumors 1.1 or 1.2 billion. Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, paid around $200 million for it when he purchased it.
It's a beautiful ballpark. I mean, really is a picturesque ballpark. The fact that it's indoors and air conditioning gives you reprieve from the summer heat down here in Miami, which can be oppressive to say the least.
Swing and a miss by Osuna. 2 strikeouts in the inning, the first 2 of the afternoon for Castillo. He's allowed only 1 hit. Reds lead 2-0. Chris join Natalie Gobus, Jimmy Hanlon tomorrow as they play 18 holes at the Red Rock Golf Trail in St. George, Utah. Tees off at 6 right here on Fox Sports Ohio, streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
I'll tell you what, I enjoy that show very much.
Jimmy's always got a tip or two, doesn't he?
And so does Natalie.
Here's Scooter, struck out twice. He leads it off, top of 5. First pitch swinging. He's not going to get the 2 strikes again. This one skied to center. Yelich camped under it. 1 away. If you joined us late, Reds got a hit from Joey Votto in the first. He's been on base 14 of his last 19 times coming to the plate after he started slowly in the All-Star post-series venue. And Joey grounded out last time up. In the second, a walk to Suarez. Peraza's base hit. Barnhart's base hit made it 1-0. And with a runner on third, a safety squeeze by Castillo produced a run. 2-0 Cincinnati, and that's where we stand. Joey to left field. Osuna almost in his tracks. 2 fly ball outs, 2 away. And just a reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to look forward to Miller Time later in today's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. JD, you've been coming to this park for a few years now, and Chris and I were talking in between innings about, it is a nice park. They did a great job at the All-Star game, but boy, they've got some great food offerings here, don't they, from one end of the park to the other?
I wouldn't know anything about the food, George, as far as you know. Oh, of course there are. They've got good eats all around here.
The Cubano sandwiches, the ceviche.
I like me a good Cubano sandwich.
You'll have 3 or 4 of those on a given night.
No, I've cut it down to 2.
And there's always ice cream, right?
You must have saw me in the press dining area.
Here's Adam Duvall, 2 homers in the series, a strikeout and a pop-up, 0 for 2. But I'm sure you missed the days of Jose Rio and the squirt gun around the old ballpark, right? The football stadium, Joe Robbie Stadium.
Wow, that was more than a squirt gun.
that was
like a squirt rifle.
Man, was that great?
That was like the AK of squirt rifles. That thing was unbelievable. That was a drencher.
No balls, 2 strikes to Adam. Swing and a miss. Straley's bounced back. He had a rough second and a hard luck second. He's now retired 6 in a row.
Be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
If you look very closely in the lower left-hand part of that screen, you'll see our producer Josh Hall, our director Roy Alfers, Matt Sigafus and Lauren White, all of them taking some time out yesterday on the day off at the beach. Now Lauren, was there. The other guys were running. Roy Alfers probably was pacing them, don't you think, Chris?
I think they were all prepping for today.
Great to have you with us. And of course, back in the studio, Kent Dreamweaver, Ron Millinor, and the whole crew. Jeff Pecoro, Ryan Giesenslaw will be filling us in with an in-game update, plus Reds Live post-game. And hey, they got a day off tomorrow. Enjoy it, guys. Here's Derek Dietrich, line to third, first time up. The lone hit so far for Miami. Rojas, infield hit in the third. And all of us at Fox Sports Ohio and the Reds would like to send out a happy birthday wish to Ruth Gamble, who lives in the Woodlands of Middletown, as she's getting ready to celebrate birthday number 101 tomorrow. Happy birthday, Ruth. Hope you have a very special day. Thanks for supporting the Reds and following us on Fox Sports Ohio. Off the end of the bat, will someone get there? Peraza calling. Got it. One away.
Well, a lot of soft contact on the parts of all the hitters in this ball game, both teams. But right now, Luis Castillo is just really dealing. Struck out 2 in the last inning. Nice, easy ground ball in between that from Yelich. That was the 2, 3, 4 hitters in the lineup. And I mean, I'm wondering right now if this might be the game where Castillo finally puts it together, so that you look at the line score and you say, yep, this guy was absolutely as dominating as it appeared in person.
Under the glove of Peraza on the hard hit ball by Tyler Moore. Second hit for the Marlins.
Well, no sooner did I speak of soft contact that Tyler Moore hits one pretty sharply up the middle.
So the one away, the Reds will be a double play depth. Here's Ichiro, who bounced one to short first time up. Very difficult to double up this guy. Still into his 40s, got great speed. And you talk about guiding the ball, Chris, the way Ichiro does. I mean, Rod Carew made a career of that. The only other guy during our lifetime, certainly Tony Gwynn. I mean, he would watch every infielder, and you could shade one way or another, one step or another, and he'd find that hole just where you left.
Oh, you're talking about Hall of Fame players. So, I mean, Wade Boggs falls into that category, too, of being able to hit the ball at will in that, that 5.5 hole was both the spot for Gwynn and the spot for Wade Boggs, and it is a lot for Ichiro. But, I mean, what he's been able to do as far as combining speed and power, you don't see a lot of power on this particular one. I mean, he's got 685 infield hits. That's from getting out of the box quickly. Over 500 stolen bases. Something that Gwynn and Boggs never came close to.
Short lead for Moore down at first. Dribbled out in front of the plate. They'll go to second, get one, and no chance at first. Ichiro beats the throw, but good job by Castillo. Didn't settle for the easy out, got the tough out, made a nice play.
I'll tell you, that Castillo just seems like he's under control all the time. That's the one thing you like. He's got a very clean delivery, but watch when he fields this. I mean, doesn't panic, sets his feet, and throws it right on the money.
A strike to second. I mean, good footwork, man. No way he's going to get 2 with Ichiro running, but he got the out he needed to get the lead runner. So 2 away, and here comes Rojas, reached on an infield hit. And by the way, on that list of 3,060 hits for Ichiro, and there he is with 508 stolen bases. You can't forget about him down at first. We're going to get another member to that 3,000 hit club either today or shortly. Adrian Beltre's at 2,999 after last night. There's another guy who'll be in the Hall of Fame too. Runner not going. Pitch in there for a strike. 0-2. Runner not going. Off the plate. Baltimore chop here in Miami, and Rojas is taken care of. Base hit by Tyler Moore, nothing to show for it. Reds still lead 2-0. Thrones theme ticket package for as low as $25. You get a Reds ticket and a limited edition Game of Thrones Dragon bobblehead. Purchase the Game of Thrones ticket package at reds.com/themes. The Dragon bobblehead is only available with a purchase of the Game of Thrones ticket package. Hope you join us at the ballpark by the river when the Reds return home after this road trip. Started with a game in Cleveland, on to 2 in New York, 4 here in Miami. There's a pop-up to the right side. It'll be in the seats and out of play. And after the 3 games in Pittsburgh, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Cardinals come to town Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then the Padres for 4. Andy Green coming back to the tri-state area. Then the Reds hit the road again. Milwaukee, the Cubs, and the Braves. Intriguing battle at the top of the division, Chris, with the red-hot start for the Cubs in the second half and the struggling start for the Brewers in the second half.
Well, yeah, but don't forget about the Cardinals. You know, it's a team that just always seems to hang in there one way or another. Right now, the Cardinals are 4.5 games back. Brewers are 1.5. Cardinals have to figure out how to play on the road. They've not done very well once they've gotten away from Busch Stadium.
Two balls, 2 strikes to Suarez, a walk and a fly ball out. Hit hard past Dietrich into left, a base hit.
You were wondering if Suarez was ever going to be able to figure out the slider of Straley. Just wait just a hair longer before you commit yourself. And he was able to do that. Saw a couple of them in that at bat. So now he's been on base twice, a walk in the second, and now a leadoff single in the sixth.
And here comes Schebler, 2 fly balls to right.
2 just missed him.
Mm-hmm. The numbers speak for themselves. Yes, he's struggled. The average plummeting down to 231 since the All-Star break. 4 for 47, but the last couple of days some bright spots. Hit a long home run the night before last and a couple of better swings. And he doesn't give up. I mean, you come in early, Chris, he's in the batting cage every day early trying to get out of this funk. Doesn't happen by magic.
No, it doesn't happen by magic, but sometimes, you know, you have to believe in a process like Votto says, but you can try too hard in the batter's box. And if you watch Schebler, I mean, he could be one of those who would tend to do that. You know, Juan is so bad. He's a little bit of a jittery guy anyway. I mean, kind of high energy. The way he is always on the move. I mean, even when he's sitting still, he seems to be moving. Just kind of, if you can just slow things down a little bit in the batter's box, let the game come to you.
There goes the runner, blooped off the end of the bat. Suarez turns around, coming back, and he will make it back to first. Hit and run. Suarez had just about made it to 2 steps to the bag at second. Then he located the ball and was able to get back in time.
After getting a couple of fastballs and just missing them, he got the slider that time.
Suarez peering across the infield at Billy Hatcher. There's Peraza, 2 hits. 1 to left, 1 to center. Two hits today, increases hitting streak to 4 straight. Pop back and out of play. It's one thing when you struggle in the minor leagues and nobody sees it, but when you hit throughout your minor league career and you get to the major leagues and struggle, everybody sees it, huh? A lot tougher to dig out of it.
Hey, we'll send out our best wishes to a big-time, long-time Reds fan, John Rogers Sr. in New Jersey. His whole family never misses a game on Fox Sports Ohio, and also from our good buddy Bobby Dorfman, who's the A2 on the Marlins side. He wants to say hello to his good buddy in Dayton, Lance Litbeck. That is our annual say hello to Lance request.
Doing that for
just
20 some odd years, haven't we? Center field hit pretty good, but it's right at Yelich. Two away. So 2 away with a runner on, and you know, we talked about Dan Straley, always very animated on the mound, and Billy Hamilton would make a great catch for the Reds, always celebrating. And there are times too where here he is, he thinks he's got an out. Oh, he wears it on his sleeve, doesn't he? A bloop in front of Yelich. Oh,
I agree with Straley on both of those.
According to the pitchers union, you should, right?
I mean, man, Straley doesn't show up as fielders, though. I mean, you know, I don't think that goes into that category. We've seen pitchers, you know, guy makes an error behind you. Next thing you know, you see the pitcher complaining to the manager during a talk to the mound, you know, about what's going on with the defense behind me. But I think Straley, I think you're right in describing it as some guy who just wears his emotions right out there.
Great honesty to him as he talks to his teammates and he plays the game, which is rare at times, and you need that in the clubhouse, don't you? I mean, some guys close to the vest never say boo, other guys get things stirred up. You need a blend of both to make a clubhouse work.
Well, he covers for all the guys who don't say boo.
And then some. 1 ball, 1 strike. In the dirt, kicks away, going to second will be Suarez. So the Reds get a runner in scoring position for Barnhart, who's 1 for 2, a run scoring hit to center. He plated the first run for the Reds back in the second.
Now they're going to walk him.
They will walk him intentionally and get to Castillo.
Or wave him, as we see the way it happens now. Just when you thought the wave was gone from baseball forever, they bring it back this year.
Well, the intentional walk sends the runner down to first. First and second, 2 outs. And with the runner at second, Straley and Ellis will make sure they're on the same page with Castillo, who's successfully laid down bunts twice. In the second, on a safety squeeze, he got the bunt down. The Reds got a run out of it when Straley stumbled diving for the ball, couldn't get it to home plate, and the runner scored. And a successful sacrifice in the fourth.
What I'd be thinking about right here if I'm Straley is that with a runner at second base, Castillo might be swinging at the first pitch. So you may just want to drop a little slider on him here to put a little wrinkle into it, and that's what he does. First time he's had to swing the bat in this game. I mean, last thing you want to do right here is give up an inning continuing base hit, especially with a speedster on second base. Suarez, average runner, but still with 2 outs, you're going to score him.
Straley to the stretch. Here's the 1-strike delivery and foul back 0-2. Dribbled in front of the plate.
Hello.
Straley off the mound and will get it there in time. Freddie Benavides looking at the manager, Brian Price, saying, wait a second, did the foot come off the bag? Take a look. Does Moore pull the foot off the bag? Take a look.
Straley kind of hesitates too at the end of this play. That's a pretty good play. Wow, that is about as good a swinging bunt as you're going to find. He did not pull his foot.
The Reds won't challenge. Cincinnati still leads it. Bringing the energy stats for today, the youngster Luis Castillo, boy, he's been something else. 24 years of age, but he's pitching like he's 34 today.
Well, I mean, this is what you hope to see. When I first saw Luis Castillo pitch in spring training, I thought, well, this guy, should be among the elite few that should get some starts. He went to Double-A. He has completely skipped Triple-A this year when the Reds called him up out of Pensacola. He was in A-ball this time last year, so. Signed a little bit late as far as, foreign international free agent sign. He signed when he was 19, but man, he comes with a rocket arm, a real understanding about changing speeds and improving breaking ball, and just a super clean delivery and great mound presence. And I think all of those things together, for me, project him to be a, very close to the top of the rotation kind of pitcher. I really think that his best games are ahead of him when he begins to really get a feel for changing speeds on his breaking ball. And I'm delighted to see him do it against his former team, at least his former organization.
Here's Mike Aviles, who will pinch hit for Straley, hitting in the 9th spot in the order. So Straley's day is done. 2 runs, 7 hits allowed. He exits trailing 2-0. And Aviles will pinch hit here to start the 6th. And give credit where credit is due. When the Reds made the deal, I mean, the Reds did their homework, organizationally speaking, and they picked up 2 fine arms that have contributed this year. And I know when the deal was made, I talked to Jack McKeon, the former Cincinnati manager, now a special assistant to the owner here, and he said, if the Reds are smart, they'll start him in the minor leagues, put him in the rotation in AAA, and by August he'll be in your rotation in the major leagues. And as usually is the case, Jack was right.
Well, he's been very efficient. And I mean, that's part of going deep into a ball game nowadays. He's only thrown 68 pitches total. And here he is in the 6th inning. How many times have we seen these young pitchers, when they get through 5 innings, they're pushing the 100 pitch mark? And you've got to go to the bullpen whether they're throwing a good game or not. Right now has been a complete day off so far for that Reds bullpen, and they could use one.
That needs it. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Aviles.
Good place to pitch. Aviles, he's a guy that loves the ball on the inner part of the plate. Kind of has a little bit of an open stance and never really closes it up completely. Short arms, tough guy to get in on.
Not backing out of play. And, you know, you talk about Castillo, when he first made it and first signed was in the minor leagues. I mean, he's got 40 starts in his minor league career and almost 40 saves, 36 saves. So it wasn't like he was a starter all the time. They put him in the bullpen, saw what he had, and said maybe this guy can start. Is there a end game, Chris? You know, we talk about Raisel Iglesias, Michael Lorenzen, Aroldis Chapman, you know, guys who you think maybe can start. You put him in the bullpen. Here's the 3-2. That's on the outside corner. Wow. 97. He dotted the eye, didn't he?
Aviles thought it was low. He was on his way to first base. Tell you what, if it was low or not, I can't tell you, but it was certainly too close to take.
As Doug Harvey would say, that was a quarter of an inch in the strike zone, right?
How do you argue with that?
1 away. Strikeout number 3 for Castillo. But is there a point in time, you know, with Chapman, the Reds had planned to use him as a starter. They needed a closer. And after, is it 1 year, 2 years? I mean, look at Dave Urgetti. You know, he was a starter, then a closer. They talked about bringing him back. Once you get to a point, you can't bring him back, can you?
I think you can always bring him back, George. I think that's some of the most overthought things in baseball about how you need to stretch your relievers out and get them up to a certain pitch count and so on. Well, you know, half the starters you're running out there aren't getting past the 4th inning anyway. So what does it matter? I think eventually those that are selected to be starters are going to weed themselves out. And you're going to find the guys that rise to the top and the guys that hang in there in a AAA for a few years, and then the guys that wash out completely. It's just a natural evolution.
3-0 to Gordon. That's a strike.
I mean, there may be certain guys in the organization that you prefer to see succeed more than others. Maybe they're high round draft picks. Maybe they're free agents that you spent more money on. But the bottom line is what they do up here will determine whether they're going to hang around or not.
Well, the first time today, D. Gordon is on. A free pass to Gordon. That is the first walk allowed by Castillo to the wrong guy. 38 stolen bases. 1 out, 1 on, and here's A.J. Ellis, the number 2 batter. Normal lead for Gordon down at first. Right by the cutout. Not going anywhere. Change up, strike 1. Billy Hamilton 44 stolen bases. Gordon 38. Trey Turner on the disabled list with 35. VR, last year's champion, 20 stolen bases. Runner not going. Center field hit pretty good. Billy Hamilton going back, reaching up, can't get it. Off the tip of his glove. This will spin Gordon around third. He'll come to the plate and score, and the Marlins are on the board. Quick swing by Ellis and rifled over the head of the Red center fielder. It's a 2-1 ball game.
Billy Hamilton has a tendency to play very shallow, challenging hitters, and he's normally able to get back. A.J. Ellis made just too good a contact on that ball. The ball really carried. And the reaction by Castillo as he sees that ball go over the head of Billy Hamilton and all the way to the wall.
Now the walk comes back to haunt here in the 6th. And a tying run in scoring position now with Yelich to the plate.
Funny how Ellis was inserted number 2 in the lineup primarily because he's a good hit and run guy. And they thought they're not going to be able to steal against Castillo, but they might be able to use the hit and run if D. Gordon gets on base. Well, that was Ellis hit and D. Gordon run all the way from first to home.
Okay, they made it a lot closer than I thought it was going to be on the throw to the plate with Gordon's speed and the fact that went all the way to the wall. Yelich bounced out twice, once to first, once to second. Not much speed at second, and the Marlins catcher A.J. Ellis. Talk about bringing guys into your clubhouse that can help the young players grow up. A.J. Ellis fits that category. He'll provide a hit like that every once in a while, but day in and day out he helps pitching preparation, catching preparation, and teamwork. Here's the 1-1. Dribbled in front of the plate. It's a
fair ball.
Fair ball. They'll get it out, and they'll get a.
He's got to be out of the baseline, right? Okay.
How about that? The Reds turn a dribbler on the plate. Barnhart's put on a clinic in this series, Chris. He's come up with some great plays. Here's the latest. Moment sponsored by Miller Lite. Boy, what a series Tucker Barnhart's had, Chris. He pounces on this. The ball's on the plate. He tags out Yelich and then gets the out at third. Dandy. Couldn't do much better than that.
Well, he threw out D. Gordon a couple of times in the first game of this series. So, I mean, he has had an exceptional defensive series, has Tucker Barnhart, and you really would expect nothing else from Barnhart. I mean, he's as good as they get behind the plate.
There's the lefty Cervenka for the second time in this series. This bullpen has bounced around, and now they're is no longer a man in the bullpen that has a save on the season with the DL, the trades of this week. Brad Ziegler activated. He's now the closer on this club. So Hunter Cervenka will take over as we go to the top of the order in the 7th inning.
Left-hander from Baytown, Texas. Working in only his 3rd game of the year, at least up here at the big league level. He combined for 68 games last year between Atlanta and 18 here in Miami.
Hamilton 1 for 3, an infield hit and 2 pop-ups, 1 to the third baseman and 1 to the shortstop. Cervenka has been that left-hander that the Reds over the years have seen. In fact, he has never given up a run against the Reds. 7 games, 5 1/3 innings pitched against Cincinnati. Pitched 2 innings in game 1 of this series on Thursday night, stranding a couple of runners. In the dirt. 3-1 to Billy. Reds head out of town after today's ball game. Off day in Pittsburgh tomorrow. And then a 3-game set against the Buccos. A tie ball 4. Reds get the leadoff hitter on. Let's see if, as D. Gordon did, Billy Hamilton can push the Reds offense here in the top of 7.
Well, he broke a record of sorts for himself yesterday when he walked against a left-hander for the first time since last August. And he gets another walk today against a left-hander. So Billy Hamilton beginning to shrink the strike zone, and that's a good thing. 1-run game now. You got to figure he's going to be off as soon as he can. In case you're wondering, last year is where you get the numbers on Cervenka holding runners on. He gave up 9 stolen bases. They threw out 3, but he also picked off 3. And that's the one-way lead. This is really a good idea by Billy Hamilton. You get a really big lead over there, right? And then you know that he's probably coming to first base because you have a big lead. So you go back to the bag so you can kind of size him up a little bit. They call that a one-way lead.
Cervenka to the stretch. He'll go over again.
Every time he goes over, he gives a little look to Freddie Benavides, who also is responsible for, you know, detecting the pickoff moves of the opposing pitchers.
There goes Billy. Rifled center field, sinking line drive. Get up, Billy. He does, and it's too late now. He slid into second head first, didn't locate the ball. By the time he did, too late to go to third. So instead of first and third, it's first and second with no one out in the
well,
seventh.
It was a good decoy also, but you can see the shortstop coming across the bag. You know, Billy knows the ball has been hit, but he's not sure where it is. He hears the crack of the bat, and there you see Rojas coming across the bag, decoying him into thinking it was a ground ball somewhere. Well, maybe that stop at second base is only temporary.
And with a lefty going, Billy's one of the best in the league at stealing third. And here's Joey. Votto singled, bounced out, flied out. Against Cervenka, Votto's 1 for 1. Money in the bank this year and for his career with runners in scoring position over 300. with the runner on first and no one out, middle of the infield double play depth. So the shortstop Rojas only a step or two behind Billy, so he can't get a big lead off second. Two and one. And a 3-ball count to the Reds' first baseman. 3-1 with Duvall on deck. Strike on the outside corner. Shake of the head by Joey. Very close, but it's 3-2, full count.
Oh, no wonder Joey's upset. Again, catcher gets the credit for a frame job, which was just a bad call by the umpire.
3-2. Nobody out. Runners not going. Votto hangs in, stays alive, just flicks it away. Two runs, 8 hits for the Reds. A run, 3 hits for Miami. Votto trying to find a way to get Hamilton home and get that 2-run lead back again. That's inside, and the bases are going to be loaded. A walk, a single, and a walk, and here comes Adam Duvall. And here comes Don Mattingly. Mattingly on his way out. And he's made his move to the bullpen. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Thanks, Pick. We'll be catching up with you as Reds Live postgame will follow us. And here the bases are loaded. And here's the new pitcher for the Florida Marlins, Drew Steckenrider, who came in on Thursday and struck out the side. He gave up a base hit to Scooter, but then struck out Votto, Duvall, and Suarez in the 8th inning on Thursday night.
One of their best prospects, a hard thrower.
Pitcher of the month in the organization 2 months ago, up from New Orleans. Big, strong right-hander. 1 ball and 1 strike. So Cervenka, 2 walks and a base hit, has loaded the bases, and the Reds trying to cash in on it here in the top of 7. Adam Duvall struck out, popped out, struck out. Tries to check it, can't do it. 1-2. Dribble towards short, chance for 2, 6-4, not in time to first, and the Reds will get a run out of it. So the walk to Billy pays off for the Reds. He scores, and the Reds have a 2-run lead again, 3-1.
So by being able to beat out the double play, Duvall picks up an RBI. Run's going to score either way, but that was a good hustle down the line.
And here comes Suarez. Walk, fly ball out, and a single to left field in the 6th. Scooter over at 3rd, Duvall over at 1st. That run will be charged to Cervenka, the first run he's ever allowed to the Reds. He'll hold on it. A ball and a strike to the Reds' 3rd baseman. In Pittsburgh, it'll be Homer Bailey on Tuesday. Reds Live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 6:30. The game will follow. Bailey against Jamison Tyone. Robert Stevenson on Wednesday against Trevor Williams. Sal Romano will go on Thursday as Steckenrider delivers. That's inside. And the Reds are home next weekend against the Cardinals. Didn't go this time, and it's 3-1. Got Schebler on deck. Marlins have only 2 left-handers, Cervenka, who they've used, and Garcia, and 6 right-handers in their reconfigured bullpen. And here's ball 4. The bases are loaded again. It's the 3rd walk in the inning. Combine that with a base hit and a ground out, and the Reds have plated a run. The bases loaded again, and here comes Schebler. We talk about guys in the Hall of Fame, Chris. That guy on the bench for the Marlins hasn't made it to the Hall of Fame, but for a chunk of years before he injured his bat, he was the best hitter in the game. for the Yankees. Don Mattingly was a perennial 300 hitter, finished his career hitting over 300. That's a strike to Shevler.
Donnie baseball.
Schebler 3 fly balls to right. This one slapped the other way, and it's 0-2. Blew it by him. There's your second out of the inning. That's what the Marlins like about this big right-hander, huh?
Yeah, you got to like that. I mean, he comes right after him in 3 pitches, comes up with a perfect spot right there. You know, one of those that looks good enough coming out of the hand that you can't take the risk of taking that pitch, but when you cut it loose, it's awfully difficult to get the bat on it.
26 appearances at New Orleans and an ERA of 1.6. Here's Peraza, 2 for 3. A 4-game hitting streak for him.
Got kind of an easy delivery too. I can't say it's as effortless as is the delivery of Luis Castillo, but clean, coming out with some action.
And another one of those young pitchers in the Marlins organization who has been on the wish list of some teams that have dealt with the Marlins.
Well, given their history, he's available.
Ball and a strike to Peraza, single to left back in the second, and scored. Led off the 4th with a base hit to center and fly to center his last time up. Reds trying to pile on. Scooter, the only base hit for the Reds in the inning. Hamilton, Votto, Suarez, all with walks, and a ground out has produced a run. That got him on the hand? I guess not. Or did it hit the bat? I don't know how he didn't get hit by it.
It's a couple of times now that we've thought the Peraza has been hit by a pitch and wasn't. How did that miss him? Must have got the knob of the bat there.
The knob of the bat, and probably the hand too. Oh, he got the hand off, and the bat was only in his right hand. Take one for the team, right? It's a run. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
You know, I once played a Double-A with a guy named Donnie Castle. Big overweight first baseman, was in Double-A for about 12 years, and every time he had an inside pitch he would yell, and we always thought he was hit by a pitch, and half the time the umpire did too, and he wore it in first base.
It's about scoring runs, isn't it? Breaking ball misses. Peraza saying what he thought the pitch inside maybe he thought was called a ball. It's 3-2.
He didn't realize maybe the ball did counts as a strike if it goes off the knob of the bat.
So 3-2, bases loaded. Scooter saying, whoa, what's going on here? Runners will be off and going. 3-2, 2 outs. And that's ball 4. Will force in another run. 4 walks in the inning and a base hit. That's produced a run for the Reds to make the lead now 4-1 now. Don Mattingly getting a dose of what Brian Price has had a big dose of in recent days.
Yeah, I think that after watching your team walk a run in, you want something stronger than water in that bottle.
Well, there's Tucker. Tucker singled in a run back in the second, popped up and was intentionally walked. Go 1 for 2. Dribbled back behind second. That's going to find its way through. 1 run scores. Here comes the runner from second. 2 more runs score. Second hit of the inning. Chases home 2 more, and the Reds behind Tucker Barnhart's 3 runs batted in now lead at 6-1.
Well, the Reds have kind of played a little small ball today. They got a couple of little bloop hits and ground ball hits off Australia in the second. They got 2 runs, and here's one that just finds a hole right up the middle. They think that Barnhart is going to pull that ball, and he doesn't. So he plays 2, and all of a sudden it's a 4-run cushion.
Four walks, 2 hits added up, and the Reds lead at 6-1. And here comes the pitcher Luis Castillo, the 9th to come to the plate in this inning.
It's always a good thing for a pitcher when you make the last out of the last inning and you're coming to bat again next inning.
Can't be bad. Dribbler to the right side. Moore has it, taps the bag. The Reds will strand a pair. They've stranded 9, but the big number that counts is 6. They lead at 6-1. Game summary. The Reds have a 6-1 lead. Tucker Barnhart's had a heck of an afternoon. His bloop base hit to center in the second made it 1-0 Cincinnati. Castillo's bunt, a safety squeeze, gets the bunt down. Straley can't get it into the plate. Another run scores. Reds led it 2-0. That's in the second. Meanwhile, back come the Marlins in inning number 6. A.J. Ellis, after a walk to D. Gordon, rifles one over Billy Hamilton's head. D scores, and it's a 2-1 ball game. But Barnhart, he's been brilliant this whole series. Taps Yelich, throws to third, and after the double, Ellis is out at third. A clinic from Tucker Barnhart today, and cap off the clinic with another base hit that plates 2 to make it 6-1 in the top of the 7th. So you add it all up, Chris, the Reds have a lead 6-1, and that guy Tucker Barnhart's been the story of the afternoon so far, along with the guy who's on the mound right now.
Well, normally Barnhart makes his mark defensively behind the plate, coaxing the pitchers to throw the ball where they want to, and him taking all along the strategy of the game. But he's done a little bit offensively today. Barnhart has. He certainly worked his magic with Luis Castillo. who has been in complete control here this afternoon, giving up only that one run. That came in the last inning.
Lengthy time on the bench. We'll see if it affects the young right-hander as he goes out here for the bottom of 7. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. He's been in command the whole time. The only mistake he really made was the walk to D. Gordon and then the base hit by A.J. Ellis, but Gordon scampered home with the lone run that the Marlins have.
You know, George, the only time a long inning on the bench affects a pitcher is when you allow it to affect you mentally. Your body doesn't tense up. Your arm doesn't all of a sudden tighten up just because you've been sitting around. In fact, he batted in that inning. And he's a young guy anyway. You don't have to worry about that. But, you know, sometimes you let your mind wander during a long inning.
Marcell Ozuna bounced out, struck out 0 for 2. Still got some giddy up, 98 miles an hour with that one. Osuna, Dietrich, Tyler Moore, 4, 5, and 6 for Florida. Fitting on this day when Pudge Rodriguez, a great catcher, being honored in Cooperstown, that the Reds catcher is putting on a show here in Miami. The Reds fans, of course, treated to the greatest catcher of all time in Johnny Bench, and it's been great over the years. Here's the 3-0 to Osuna down the middle for a strike. And you know, it's been great to watch, Chris, the relationship between Pudge Rodriguez and Johnny Bench over the years. I mean, Pudge has said it numerous times that Johnny was the greatest, and Johnny is giving accolades to. There's a fly ball to right. Schebler over. Does he have room? It will be in the seats. I mean, they got a boatload of Gold Gloves. They each hit, and Bench has been a supporter of Pudge's for a long time.
Well, you know, it's really difficult to judge, you know, if this guy or that guy is the best player in the history of the game. And that's basically what people have been saying about Johnny Bench for a long time, and I'll give that the okay. But certainly Pudge Rodriguez, the best catcher of his generation.
Schebler turned around, back leaping up, and he holds on. Great play by Schebler. Off the right-hander's bat, it was curving away from him, so he got turned around, but still gets the glove up, flags it down. That prevents a double.
Having a rough day at the plate, no problem. I still played good D.
Reds outfield has been superlative defensively all year long, and even last night Patrick Kivlehan got an assist in the outfield to continue what has been an assist-laden season for the Reds outfielders. Schebler has 5, Hamilton has 9, Duvall has 8 assists on the year. Don't get much better than that.
Speaking about Pudge Rodriguez again, George, I got to throw Yadier Molina right in the same conversation with Rodriguez.
Off the end of the bat to center, here's Hamilton. Yeah, you know, Chris, up in Cooperstown this week, all the Hall of Famers get interviewed, and Pudge will be on the griddle tonight when they have the dinner and the Hall of Famers get to him. Johnny Bench was being interviewed. Watch this.
I had to either.
Yes, he is.
I had to. God, who's this? Oh, that guy. My backup's here. Yeah.
Everything good?
It is, this interview. I mean, I was really in the middle of my cameo.
He was nailed.
They have a great respect between the two of them. And Pudge, of course, we were there in Texas, Chris. Remember when they honored Pudge for all his Gold Gloves when he tied Johnny Bench, and Johnny came into town. There's a bouncer foul, and the two have developed a great relationship over the years. Tonight is after the ceremonies are over. Pudge Rodriguez, Chet Bagwell, and Timmy Raines will go to the dinner that takes place tonight at 6 o'clock after the ceremonies are over. Only Hall of Famers, and they grill the new guys. It's like being the rookie and, you know, singing a song. I mean, they get them. They get them. And especially if one of them speaks too long today, they'll be all over them. And Bench will be at the top of the list, guaranteed. There's Tyler Moore. flied out, singled, and the Reds get out of this inning quick. So much for a blip for Castillo. It's his longest outing of his career. He's been in command from day number one, returning to the organization that he cruised through the minor leagues. He leads it 6-1. Luis Castillo. Tomas Telis is in the game at first base. The changes include Brian Ellington, who comes in, the big right-handed pitcher. Ellington's 15th game this season. Recalled from New Orleans just last week, making his 3rd appearance with the Marlins this year. And he'll start with the top of the order. Last inning, Billy Hamilton started it all off with a walk. And he'll start it all off again here in inning number 8. Dan Straley started 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs. An unlucky second inning contributed to those 2 runs scoring. A walk, a bloop base hit that might have been caught, another base hit that could have been caught, and then the safety squeeze where he couldn't get a glove on the ball and the run scored. 2 runs had scored. Ellington's got a big arm, a career high over 11 strikeout per 9 season. Down in New Orleans. Why shouldn't he smile? Electric arm, great smile. 3-1. And the Reds get Billy on again. So Billy walks for the 2nd straight time. 3rd time he's on base. He popped up first time up, reached on an infield hit, popped up 2nd time up, and then the 2 walks. Don't forget, cheer on the Reds when they take on the Cardinals for as low as $12. First 20,000 fans through the gates will receive a Rizal Iglesias bobblehead thanks to Penn Station. For tickets, visit Reds.com. Here comes Scooter. He was glad to see Straley go. Straley struck him out twice. Since then, a fly ball deep to center and then a solid single to center in the 7th. The Reds had only 2 hits in their 4-run 7th, but 4 walks contributed to the parade of Reds runners. That pitch is up high for ball 1. And quickly 2-0 after walking the first batter he faces. So A.J. Ellis will go out and talk to his young right-hander. By the way, congratulations out to Bob Melvin. Chris won his 1,000th game as a manager last night. I didn't realize he hadn't won 1,000 yet. He's been around a long time. Very solid manager every place he's been. He picked up number 1,000 last night.
Wasn't he the manager, George, that Brian Price was pitching coach under
Arizona.
at Phoenix with the Arizona Diamondbacks? Yep. And when he was fired midstream, Brian Price also said, you know what? I'm heading out of here with the guy I came with.
Allegiance to a guy who he's very close with, has always been very close. I don't think anybody was happier in the game than Brian Price for Bob Melvin last night.
Good baseball man.
Yep.
Bob Melvin and Brian Price too.
Ellington to the stretch. Here's the 2-0 to Scooter. And that's ball 3. They still talk on a regular basis, especially during spring training, because they both train now in Arizona. And there's ball 4. Back-to-back walks. Well, the Red starters dished out walk after walk, 14 of them in the first 3 starts of the series, and on this day it's been the other way around. 4 walks last inning, 2 more walks here today in the 8th inning. And the Reds have 2 on with Joey Votto coming to the plate, and here's Juan Nieves, the pitching coach, heading out there. These are 2 managers and 2 pitching coaches that are developing young pitchers at the major league level. Hey, don't forget, join the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Cincinnati for the 3rd annual Sand Volleyball Classic on August the 12th. Co-ed teams of 8 are welcome to come out and compete for a great cause. Register today at bgcgc.org. Here's Joey. On base 2 more times today. Single in the first. Ground out, fly ball out, and walked on a 3-2 pitch in the 7th. High in the air to right center field. Back is Yelich at the wall, looking up. He'll haul it in 2 steps from the wall. Both runners tagging, and both will advance. Well, you don't get a sacrifice fly in the game for that because no runner scores, but that's a productive at bat.
Well, that's a big fly in Cincinnati. I can tell you that much. That ball is way back up there on that berm.
About 405 feet away. Yelich tracked it down. So runners at 2nd and 3rd now. First out of the inning. And here comes Adam Duvall with the infield in. The Marlins trailing by 5. Duvall today struck out, popped up, struck out, and bounced into a fielder's choice that plated the 3rd run for the Reds in the 7th inning. Hop back and out of play, 0-2. Raisel Iglesias loosening for the Reds. Of course, on this string where the Reds have struggled, no leads, Iglesias, the closer, has had infrequent opportunities, not just to close games, but to pitch. So Brian Price planned to give him work today either way. Hit hard down to 3rd, backhanded, throw to the plate. They'll get the runner caught between home and 3rd. And Billy trying to outrun the 3rd baseman Dietrich, can't do it, and there's your out.
What a play by A.J. Ellis on the throw from Dietrich. That ball, I mean, that play almost went sideways for the Marlins right there. You know, this goes to show you always have to anticipate a bad throw from a fielder. So Ellis is going to get the ball from the 3rd baseman after Duvall hits it down the line. And it's a 1-hop, and the bat is in the way too, but it somehow misses the bat. Ellis picks it, and they eventually get Billy Hamilton.
And that's a picture perfect job by Ellis. We talked about Barnhart here but you couldn't have done that play any better than Ellis did. Not just picking the ball out of the dirt, but your goal is to run the runner back to the previous base, not towards home plate, and he did it. And you do it in 2 throws, you've done it well.
Well, if you do it without the runner behind him advancing to the base, you've done a good job.
So 2 away, and here's Suarez. Walk, fly ball out, single, and walk. And now 2 on and 2 out.
Boy, Brian Ellington now dialing it up there at 100 miles per hour.
We heard Steckenrider and Ellington had some gas.
Well,
they sure do.
You know, get used to it. This is the way it's going to be moving forward. I mean, next year there'll be more players in the big leagues that throw 100. Year after that, there will even be more. There are kids coming up now throwing harder than ever because they're training that way. He's always had some control problems, although this year particularly acute. He had 14 innings coming into this ball game at the big league level. He had walked 16. Walk him and strike him out.
There's the 2-1 with 2 on and 2 out. Juan Nieves in kind of the same mode right now that Mac Jenkins is in at the major league level, trying to develop young pitching, trying to teach them how to win at the major league level. Not easy to do. That's a call, strike 3. So a strikeout for Ellington. The Reds get a couple of walks, nothing to show for it. They still lead at 6-1 going to the bottom of 8. Everybody in baseball saddened on this day. We regret to report to you that the great Lee May has passed away. Reds Hall of Famer with the Reds from 65 to 71. Yeah, big home run hitter, Chris, but Lee was bigger than home runs. His personality was bigger than his bat. He was always the star of a clubhouse, the star of a bench. And, you know, over the years when you've been out at Reds training camp, when he's come to town, or we've been at Reds Fest, he always lights the room up, and that light dimmed somewhat today, but not forever, because Lee May will always be special to all of us. Lee May passed away this weekend at home. A guy that we all loved, and a guy that certainly has imprinted himself in Reds history.
Well, George, you know, in my recollection as a youth, it seemed like every time Lee May came to the plate, he hit a home run.
Yeah.
You know, it would just seem like that on the radio, and most of the time with the bases loaded. And I had the pleasure, and I mean real pleasure, of being his travel partner over the last few years during the Reds caravan when he was on it, and I'm telling you, man, he and Marty and you know, Brandon Phillips was back with us in those days, and a number of other young players coming up through the organization. What a wonderful and very funny guy. I just loved every minute I ever spent with Lee May.
Here's Ichiro 0 for 2. Swing and a miss, and he's retired, so first out of the 8th inning. And you know, Chris, some guys give it out and can't take it. Lee gave it out, he could take it too. He made every day a joy when you were around him, didn't he? The numbers can tell a small part of the Lee May story. The biggest part, that smile, the personality. And he watched games all the time. Now, how many times would he call us during a game, or we'd talk to him after a game and we'd joke about something we said or something that we'd nudge him about?
He would joke, but he'd also he'd get the thumb on me a little bit, you know, especially when I would say something stupid, which would be fairly often. But just love Lee May, really. The Reds, he also played for the Astros. He's in the Baltimore Orioles Hall of Fame, and of course he was with the Kansas City Royals.
2006, a Reds Hall of Famer, and will always be in our Hearts Hall of Fame.
The Big Bopper from Birmingham.
Big Boppers will always have an imprint on all of us who he touched, and our condolences to family, friends, and to everyone certainly who has been a part of his imprint on the game.
In fact, he and Pete Rose, I think, broke in together in 1961 when they both played for the Tampa Tarpons.
Well, so much for losing some gas for Luis Castillo, huh? Strikes out the first 2 here in the 8th. And you know, you and I kind of wondered when the day started, would this maybe be the coming out performance for Luis Castillo as he went up against the guy he was traded for, and Dan Straley? Boy, he has lived up to the hype on this day. He's shown that he's a major leaguer.
He's not messing around, I'll tell you that.
How about this for an easy inning at 97? He's at 106. He'll get some congrats as he heads to the bench. He's been in control all day long. The Reds lead the Marlins behind Luis Castillo 6-1. Ohio has been brought to you by Kroger. Stop by your neighborhood Kroger to save big store-wide. Great food, low prices, all at Kroger. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. The rising tide raises all boats. Well, the rising tide today is Luis Castillo, Chris, and boy, did he get congrats when he hit the bench. Mac Jenkins with a big hug. One by one, everybody got into this, huh?
Well, he's got to feel very good. Mac Jenkins has to feel very good about the way he's pitched today. Finally, I think Ryan Price gets an outing from a starter that you know, he doesn't have to warm the bullpen up in the 4th or 5th inning. And just goes to show you what you can do when you have a couple of different pitches you can throw over the plate.
Top of 9, Schebler leads it off, bouncing out to second. Schebler 0 for 5. That guy's been the star today. The numbers for Castillo tell the story, but the way he's done it and the way he's presented himself, really, Chris, since you spent time with him in spring training and watching him, he's got a presence about him, doesn't he?
Yeah, that is the thing that hit me most, George. I mean, there are a lot of kids you see in spring training with great arms, and they all seem to be throwing very hard down there in March when big leaguers are not really grinding out at bats. So you really weren't sure what to make of the performance that Castillo had during his short stint in big league camp. But when he came up here for real, it was amazing the mound presence that he has. It's very advanced for his age, for his experience, having completely skipped AAA. I think the Reds are really happy to have him. I would not want to be in the Marlins front office explaining to the owner how that guy got away.
Just Framer to Spain, the new pitcher here in the top of 9 for the Reds with 1 away. Peraza, 2 more hits today. Breaking ball wide. You know, we've talked about Jeff Bagwell and about Pudge Rodriguez. Can't leave Tim Raines off the list today, Chris.
Teammate of mine.
Yep. Rock.
That guy saved me once during a fight on the field. Keith Moreland charged him out, and Dickie Knowles, who was a member of the Cubs, was trying to spike me in the hand while there was a big pileup. And Tim Raines got behind him and put him in basically a boa constrictor lock and carried him all the way out to right field. By that time, Dickie Knowles couldn't breathe. And he was saying, "Please just let me down, Rock. Just let me down. I promise I won't go back in there."
I mean, Ricky Henderson, the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, but not far behind him is Tim Raines.
You're right.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Peraza. And up at Cooperstown, it's very special. Of course, now in part of this organization, Tony Perez, part of the Marlins organization. So is Andre Dawson, both Hall of Famers. These are the 3 guys going in. 7-time All-Star, Silver Slugger winner, over 800 stolen bases. And he'll tell you at the drop of a hat that if it was not for Andre Dawson, his career would have been over. You know, we talk about performance enhancing drugs. He had a drug issue early in his career. He kicked it, and it was Dawson who took him under his wing, had him live with him, showed him how to be a good person and a major leaguer. And he's in the Hall of Fame because of what he did, but also because of Andre Dawson. That's a walk to Peraza. They're like brothers. And you know that there's some tears that'll take place today for Rock Raines and for Andre Dawson as he's honored in Cooperstown. 1 out, 1 on, and here's Barnhart. By the way, I didn't realize that we were talking about Tucker Barnhart and Jeff McEwen, his high school coach, both he and Drew Storen. And Don Mattingly confirms that 2 of Donnie's kids played for Jeff McEwen too. Preston, who now was signed by the Dodgers, and I didn't realize that he now is scouting with the San Diego Padres. All right, Chris, we alluded to it earlier. What's happened in the water since the All-Star break?
Well, you know, I think for Peraza, you know, it comes with hits too. So you have a little more confidence at the plate. You realize that, you know, what Don Long has been preaching to him about making sure that you get strikes to hit. You know, it takes confidence to be able to do that. And he's walked twice today. Billy Hamilton has walked twice today. Each of them are their both last 2 at bats. So that's a step in the right direction.
Barnhart, 3 runs batted in on the day, 2 hits, 2 for 3. High fly ball to right. Ichiro going over. He's got room. He has it. There's your 2nd out of the inning. Hey, be there when the Ohio Lottery postgame concert series continues with Flo Rida Friday, August the 4th at Great American Ballpark. See Flo Rida perform chart-topping hits including My House, Low, Cake, and a whole lot more. Don't miss Flo Rida live at the ballpark. For tickets, visit reds.com/concerts. There's Patrick Kivihan, who started last night's ball game, hitting for Castillo here in the top of 9. Iglesias had been loosening for the Reds in the bullpen. Doesn't get a chance to start that off, and came up with a great defensive play last night to nail D. Gordon trying to stretch a single into a double. Now, you talk a lot about young pitchers coming up and learning how to pitch at the major league level. Not often you see young players, position players, having to learn a role as a bench player and a pinch hitter. He's had to really learn a lot about that early in his career this year.
Well, you know, if you're a high round draft pick and you're the stud of a minor league team, you come up here and you normally only come up if you're going to play every day. But if you're not that player in the minor leagues, then there's a likelihood that you're not going to be that player in the major leagues. So you're going to come up and you're going to be a bench player. You're going to play less than you did down in the minors, but it's something that you have to figure out how to do it. You know, every time I come to Miami, I think of Lenny Harris.
Coop.
And he was a guy that figured it. I mean, he wanted to be an everyday player, but boy, he turned himself into one of the best pinch hitters of all time.
More pinch hits than anybody else in the history of the game.
And just a good baseball mind.
Yep. Been a coach at the major league level, and another guy who lights up a room every time he walks into it. Still got his socks?
He's got mine.
Swing and a miss. Kivihan retired. We're going to the bottom of 9. Last roundup for the Marlins. Luis Castillo's been the star. The Reds lead at 6-1. Need. Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing, prior to every Reds game. And don't forget, coming up, Reds Live post game. We'll wrap up this one for you and head to the airport, head to Bucko Town, Chris. Homer Bailey, Robert Stevenson, and Sal Romano for the Reds Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday after an off day tomorrow. There's Raisel Iglesias. He'll try to wrap things up in inning number 9. 6 runs, 9 hits, no errors for the Reds. There's a bouncer into center, a base hit. D. Gordon had lined out twice, walked, and scored a run, and here he gets his first hit of the day, a base hit to start the 9th to center field. A.J. Ellis bounced out, struck out, and after Gordon walked in the 6th, Ellis hit a line drive over the outstretched leaping effort of Billy Hamilton in center, went all the way to the wall. D. Gordon scored. That's the only run that the Marlins have. You joined us late. Dan Straley started 6 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs. He was victimized in the second. 2 runs scored after a couple of bloop hits and another ball that could have been caught, and a safety squeeze where he couldn't get a glove on the ball, and the Reds had a 2-0 lead. And as it turns out, that's all they really needed. Other than that, he settled down. And you got to imagine, Chris, that Dan Straley is still very much in play in the final 30+ hours or so heading into this trading deadline.
You know, it's really hard nowadays, George, to gauge the interest in certain players, except that you read, you know, there are websites devoted to trade rumors.
Yep.
And, you know, in most 90% of the time they're wrong. So I tend not to pay a whole lot of attention until I read the official release.
Well, Dick Williams and all his folks are gathered in Cincinnati and looking at possibilities. You know, and I mean, we all talk to scouts, and the people that we've talked to, I mean, everybody's knocking on the door. They'd love to get this guy, Raisel Iglesias, so they'd love to get Lorenzen. But if you're rebuilding, no matter how good a deal looks, would you deal one of those two? And of course, Zach Cozart was a possibility, but now with the injury on the disabled list, the 10-day DL, not likely. But there are some other pieces.
Well, I think the quest is always trying to make your club better. And that's where the tough part is as a general manager, to make the call. All right, would trading a blue chipper like Iglesias, do I have a need that is bigger than what Iglesias can fill for us? And what can I get in return? And is he or they as sure a thing as Iglesias is right now? You know, and then you can move on down the line to Lorenzen or Votto or whoever you want to plug into the name. I mean, that's the tough thing, is projecting forward. I mean, look at the other side here of the Castillo and Straley deal. I mean, Castillo comes in here and completely dominates the Marlins, and they're a team that needs starting pitching as desperately as anybody. So, you know, sometimes you win them and sometimes you don't. Sometimes it looks like a win in the beginning, and then it turns out to be not so great, you know, down the road if one of the players is injured or just somehow gets derailed.
And the other aspect is not just ability, but control. How long do you have control over an athlete that you have or want? That's one of the reasons why you would figure Straley would be certainly on the menu for other teams, because he still is under team control for 3 more years.
Yeah, will not be a free agent until 2021.
Well, a base hit and a walk, not the way Brian Price wanted to see the 9th inning start. And here comes Christian Yelich. Yelich bounced out twice and dribbled one in front of the plate that Barnhart turned into a double play. That was a key play in the 6th. Nobody out, a walk and a double. The Marlins had a run. They got a strikeout of Aviles, and then the great play by Barnhart. Down and in, 1-1. Great speed at second and D. Gordon. Ellis down at first. And behind in the count again is Iglesias. Reds double play depth, middle of the infield. Votto playing behind the runner at first. '97 clips the inner part of the plate, and it's 2-2. The electricity of Luis Castillo's arm is duplicated with this guy, Chris.
Well, that's why you normally see a lot of early pitch swinging on the part of hitters, because they don't want to have to see his whole repertoire of pitches. I mean, it's the real intriguing thing about Iglesias is that, if, and I guess it's a big if, his arm could withstand, throwing 100 to 115 pitches every 5 days. I mean, his stuff translates as a Pedro Martinez type starter. But he has to be committed mentally, and then his body has to be able to withstand it. But man, oh man, I mean, he's got plenty of tools to get lefties and right-handers out and do it easily.
Nasty. Way out in front is Yelich. That's strikeout number 1, out number 1. And it takes a vision. I mean, a vision of someone who knows pitching and someone who knows mechanics. Turns that one over on the outside corner. Change up, swing and a miss. There's out number 1. I mean, you talk about Pedro Martinez. There were people in the Dodger organization who believed very wholeheartedly that he was going to be a big winner. I mean, his brother Ramon would sing praises of Pedro, and the feeling was he was small, diminutive, that he'd never be able to stand up to the punishment of starting. Ramon Martinez told everybody, stick with him. Dave Wallace, who ran the minor league system there, said stick with him. But other folks said, no, we'll deal him. Well, he's in the Hall of Fame. He's up in Cooperstown this weekend. One ball deliberately to Osuna.
Not only in Cooperstown, but I mean, there were years there that the way he dominated hitters, you could say that they were the best years ever for a major league pitcher. The way he distanced himself from the rest of the pitching pack. Ozuna's thinking, please don't throw me that slider again.
Oh, that's hit a ton.
Don't hang it, though.
He did. He hung it. He ripped it. Marcell Ozuna hits his 24th homer. The Reds had kept him quiet for most of this series. And with one swing of the bat, it's now a 6-4 ball game.
Really what I meant to say was don't throw me the good one again. I guess hanging sliders, it doesn't matter who they come from, they all look the same. They're big, they're blinking, and you put the solid part of the bat on them and they go a long, long way.
Over the baseball sculpture in center field, onto the walkway. Osuna delivers a big-time hit. Tomas Vera and Castillo just look on, and just like that, it's 6-4. Now a 2-run game, and the base is cleared. Out comes not Mac Jenkins, but Brian Price to talk to, and it looked like he said, "Everything okay?" And he wants to make sure he is all right here. Let's go. And in the world of a closer, Chris, and a late inning bullpen guy, you come in to have a cleanup inning, and a 3-run inning all of a sudden balloons your ERA big time.
Well, I don't think he's really worried about earned run average. It's one of the poorer statistics for short relievers. But I don't think he likes giving up runs at all.
His ERA coming in was like 1.4.
Yeah, I think a lot of that, George, has to do with, the frequency of work. I mean, I'm of the side that says it's going to rust off before it wears off. That's the old Jim Cott line. He probably stole it from somebody else, but that's okay.
Your mentor Robin Roberts always said that too.
Yeah.
Two balls, 2 strikes to Dietrich. Dietrich 0 for 3 today, but has been a thorn in the side of the Reds both in Cincinnati and here. Nub, but foul. And with Dietrich at the plate, JT Realmuto has moved into the on-deck circle. Big time threat there. So not out of the woods yet is Iglesias. A single, a walk, a strikeout, and the homer. That's hit high in the air. Going back is Schebler. It's going to stay in the park, though. He just missed that. Schebler will haul it in for out number 2. You've talked a lot about it, Chris. That slider, if it's down, either way, is not going out of the park the one Osuna hits. It's not just pitch selection, it's pitch location.
Yeah, and it's finishing the pitches, and it's having feel, and you know there are a lot of things that go into it. It's certainly easy to sit on your couch and watch it from the center field camera and say, how can you throw that pitch there?
So here's JT. Got the afternoon off and will pinch hit here in the 9th inning. Don Mattingly hoping that pinch hit appearance would come with a runner on, but now with 2 outs, base is clean, and he takes his 300 average to the plate. Bounce down to second. Scooter scoops, and that'll do it. So a little trepidation in the 9th, but this day belongs to that guy right there, Luis Castillo. Brilliant, Chris. The Reds hang on for a 6-4 victory. Tucker Barnhart provides the offense. Castillo, returning to the team that he toiled for in the minor leagues, has an outstanding performance, and the Reds have won this one by a final score of 6-4.
I get the feeling we're going to see a whole lot more out of just like this out of Luis Castillo.
A lot to love for the young